I'll say this, right? I'm a nobody. But it's like I've been seeing so many people asking Asian creators to speak up about the whole uh riots in LA and all these deportation things. This is something that a lot of people don't understand. Asian people, we support the country. We support the betterment of the country. We support that. So what is there to say? What is there to say? We support the deportations of illegals. It is honestly tiring, because here's the thing: we want the country to be better. We want the country to be better. We want the country to, if you did it legally, if you stand in line, if you paid the price, right? You paid the money and all that. You did all the process, the paperwork, all the stuff, which usually most Asian people do. Why would we care about someone jumping in line, crossing the border, and all this stuff? Why should we, be happy about that? We're not really. This is the thing where we're not really dependent. Asian people aren't really dependent on migrant labor, right? Not like other people.
He said what he said. Hello guys, welcome back to Trending Pulse Worldwide, the channel where we don't just watch what's trending, we also talk about it. Now, what you just heard was only half of it. This man who identifies as Asian just told the world he supports undocumented immigrants being deported, especially Latinos. And according to him, this is exactly what Trump promised. And now that it's happening, people should stop complaining. But the moment he said we don't depend on immigrant labor, that's where everything blew up. So we're going to get into the rest of what he says, then break it all down with reactions, because creators did not hold back. Let's take a look.
We're not really dependent on migrant labor. So we're not going to cry that the U.S. is pretty much backing what they promised. The U.S. promised, or this presidency promised, that they would deport illegal immigrants. They're doing that. Why are you crying? Why are you crying about it? This is the thing where, you see it, like these immigrants are waving the flags of other countries, burning down the flag of the U.S., and then you think Asian people want to support that? No, they want to stay away from that. They don't want to be grouped in with these people. That's the thing. Asian people want to, focus on themselves and their community and their country. They don't want to be grouped in with these people. So really, stop asking Asian influencers to speak up about it, because you won't like what they say.
Let's take a moment and hear what Black Americans are saying in response to this, because here's something we don't talk about enough. Some Black creators are using this moment to point out something they've been saying for a while. These creators are saying, hold on, why are you so focused on Black communities when you have other groups like this man right here who are openly, confidently, and unapologetically saying they don't support you? Why aren't you calling them out? Because you see, when issues like deportation comes up, Latino often call out Black people, accusing them of not supporting their protest, not showing up for immigration raids, or being silent when they're in trouble.
Then he also went on to say that they don't benefit from migrant labor, immigrant labor. He said, we don't need y'all. Which is kind of ironic, because I'm just going to keep it real. Majority of the times, like if I go to like any like Asian establishments and I see like bus boys or people that's working with them, it's usually Latino, like Mexicans. And so I don't know nothing about that. But at the end of the day, y'all keep coming for Black folk when Asian people and other Latinos are blatantly saying that they want to send you back to wherever the hell you originated from. But Black folk keep getting brought up into it. This Asian man just sat up here, bold face and all, and said, we don't give a goddamn about the ICE raids in LA. We don't care. Do it the legal way. And I mean, like, technically speaking, ...
People are pissed at this guy. If you go into their comments, and of course, I'm always going to support content creators by giving them credit. If you go into their comments, you'll see that they're basically calling him, or they're calling the Asian community, which Asian community is not a monolith. There's different types of Asians. You got the Japanese, you got the Chinese, you got Vietnamese. You got so many different Asian types, right? It breaks down. But that goes without saying. But they're basically saying the Asian community is the most pick-me of all of the different types of minorities that make up the people that could or couldn't be impacted by illegal migrants coming into this country because they are not making a big fuss about it. Personally, and maybe y'all timeline might be a little bit different, people have not been sending me videos of any Asian creators. I have not seen any in recent memory that I can think of right off the top of my head, but people have not been sending me any content from Asian creators that are basically saying, oh man, we got to protest, we got to go out there. Maybe they are smarter than everybody else, because even if they disagree with it, they're not openly saying it, and they certainly not out in the streets getting themselves or crashing out over the fact that people that are here illegally shouldn't be here. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of people that are finessing in the Asian community. I mean, there's a ton of people that are finessing all day long. So I'm not speaking to the innocence or the guilt of it. What I am saying is, if you are a person that is over here illegally, or you are a person that is doing something that you're not supposed to do, let's just remove the immigration part out of it. Why would you want to bring visibility, more visibility to yourself, instead of trying to figure out how you can get around a situation or work through it or get your papers or get in line? Maybe we didn't do this the right way.
Now, let's get into the responses from within the Asian community, because they had a lot to say too. And first, there's this woman who didn't waste any time. She broke down everything this man said, from his claim that Asians don't depend on immigrant labor, to his support for deportations, and even his tone, which many felt was more about appeasing whiteness than standing up for any real values. She laid it all out, calmly but directly. Let's take a look.
Sir, you look like the immigration issue you're ranting about. So the projection is wild because you look very illegal. The loss of immigrants has the potential for a full economic collapse because of significant GDP reduction, labor shortages, increased prices, reduced consumer spending and demand, and billions lost in tax revenue. An economic collapse affects everyone. Immigrants make this country thrive. He is the embodiment of the model minority, which was created to pit Asians against other marginalized groups, rewarding obedience, silence, and hard work with crumbs of white approval. And he ate that up. Tap dancing for people who don't even want you here. No matter how hard you try to prove you hate yourself more than they ever could, and try so hard to distance yourself from the very people who fought for the rights that you now leech off of.
And that right there, that's the kind of response that hits different. She said it all. Not every Asian person has the same experience. Not everyone benefits from distancing themselves from immigrant communities. And not all Asians are sitting comfortably with privilege like he made it seem. And what really stood out was how she challenged the idea that siding with the system will somehow protect you, because history shows it won't. But she wasn't the only one. More Asian creators followed up by saying clearly, this man does not represent us. Stop acting like you speak for a whole race. You don't get to use we when you are pushing your personal opinion. Let's roll a few of those responses.
There's this guy trying to give reasons as to why Asians shouldn't advocate for what's happening in LA. And I just want to say that he keeps saying we as if all Asians think the same. All right, we aren't a monolith. All right, even I won't say we as if I represent all Asians. And another thing is, you can support your country without being blindly loyal to it, all right? You can push for it to be better, right? And then another thing he said is that Asians aren't dependent on undocumented labor. Well, I feel like that is just incorrect. If you go to a Chinatown, or if you go to Chinatown, K-Town, if you look at the staff, all right, most of the staff is undocumented, all right? Sometimes even the Asians themselves aren't even documented, all right?
Hello, friendly neighborhood Asian. Look at this Asian man acting like he is the wrong kind of melatonin. Dude, no matter how hard you try, you'll never be white.
Alright, now that we've had it all, let's sit down and really talk about this, because this man didn't just casually share an opinion, he doubled down on one of the most sensitive topics in America today, immigration. And the way he said it, it rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. First of all, he said openly that it supports deporting undocumented immigrants. He said that this is what Trump promised and that is what people voted for. And in his eyes, if you are undocumented, you deserve to be deported. Simple. But is it really that simple? Because when he says this is what Trump promised, it reveals where his loyalty stands. He's not hiding it. He's not neutral. He's aligning himself with a political agenda that has caused massive harm, especially to immigrant communities. And then he followed that up with what might be the most controversial statement of all. We as Asians don't rely on immigrant labor. Now, let's just pause right there, because that statement has been widely debunked, even by people from his own community. And several Asian creators came forward and said, excuse me, go to a nail salon, a restaurant, a grocery store, who's working in the kitchens, who's doing deliveries, who's in the back rooms. It's often undocumented immigrants, and many of them are Latinos. And in fact, many Asian-owned businesses depend on immigrant labor and not just legal workers. Undocumented workers are a huge part of that economy. So this idea that Asian communities are somehow separate from all that, that's just not true. And he may feel personally detached from it, but economically and socially, immigrant labor is deeply connected to every major city, including Asian neighborhoods. Then there's the tone he used throughout his video. And not once did he show empathy. Not once did he acknowledge how complex this issue is. It was all very, if you didn't come legally, you don't belong here. We did it the right way, you should have too. And if you're deported, well, that's your fault. Now, some people did agree with what he said, or at least part of it. And let's be fair here, not everyone who responded was angry. Some creators say things like, he's harsh, but he's right. People should come the legal way. And I don't support deporting families, but I do believe in respecting the border. And there have to be rules. You can't just sneak into the country and expect full rights. And look, I get that. Those are valid concerns. And we do need laws, and countries do have the right to regulate immigration. But you can believe that without being cruel. You can stand for order without cheering for deportations. And you can want secure borders without pretending the system is fair or accessible for everyone. That is what that guy failed to recognize. So guys, with that said, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you agree what this guy was saying? Drop your thoughts. I want to hear what you have to say. And also remember to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed the breakdown, and also don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more trending stories here on Trending Pulse Worldwide. Thank you so much for sticking around, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.